Before the lights go out and the world shifts from a playground to a proving ground, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel because the algorithm is the only thing feeding you right now. And soon you'll have to feed yourself. Picture this. It has been 72 hours since the grid collapsed. The silence in your home is absolute, heavier than the noise ever was. The water pressure died yesterday, leaving a dry gurgle in the pipes. You are cold, you are thirsty, and the panic starting to taste metallic in the back of your throat. In this moment of desperation, your brain desperately searches for a lifeline, clawing through memories of every survival movie, every hero you've watched on a screen. You think you know what to do because you've seen it 1,000 times in Hollywood. But here is the brutal truth that the movies never tell you. That script was written for drama, not for life. If you follow the logic of a blockbuster, you will be dead by sunrise. The greatest threat you face right now isn't the cold or the hunger. It's the folklore virus, the collection of myths disguised as wisdom that lives in your head. Today, we are going to purge that virus. We are going to replace the comforting lies of cinema with the cold, hard physics of survival, turning your home from a tomb of good intentions into a fortress of scientific reality. Let's start with the most dangerous lie in the survival canon, the one that kicks in when the thirst becomes a physical weight in your chest. You've seen the desperate protagonist drink their own urine to survive another day. Do not do this. Your body is a filtration plant, and urine is the hazardous waste it has explicitly rejected. It is full of salts, urea, and toxins. When you reintroduce that concentrated slurry into a dehydrated system, you aren't hydrating, you are accelerating the collapse. The high salt content forces your kidneys to strip the remaining water from your blood just to process the new influx of poison. It is a mathematical death spiral. Instead, you need to look at your environment with a scavenger's eye. Ignore the toilet bowl. Look at the tank behind it. That is gallons of clean, potable water. Look at the water heater in the basement. That is 40 gallons of life sitting in a pressurized tank. Use a hose to drain it. Survival is not about recycling waste. It is about harvesting reserves you didn't know you had. Now that you aren't poisoning yourself, you need heat. The temperature is dropping, and you can see your breath in the living room. You have a wood stove or a fireplace, and you have a jerry can of gasoline in the garage. The movie hero splashes the fuel, tosses a match, and walks away from a roaring hearth. In reality, gasoline has a flash point of negative 45 degrees. It doesn't burn, it explodes. If you dump liquid gas onto wood in a confined space, the vapors fill the room instantly. One spark doesn't give you a fire, it gives you a concussive blast that will blow out your windows and melt your skin. Forget the accelerants. You need to master the physics of airflow and surface area. Take a cotton ball and rub a pea-sized amount of petroleum jelly into it. This isn't a bomb. It's a controlled candle wick that will burn for 5 minutes, giving you enough sustained heat to dry out damp kindling. You are trading high-octane suicide for low-tech chemistry. Once the fire is lit, the hunger sets in. You manage to trap a rabbit, or maybe you have a freezer full of lean game meat. You think you've won. You cook it over the fire and eat until you're full. But if that is all you're eating, you're walking into a metabolic trap known as rabbit starvation. Your liver has a limit on how much protein it can metabolize without fat. If you exceed that limit, your blood ammonia levels spike and you enter a state of acute malnutrition. You will eat with a voracious appetite, but your body will consume its own muscle tissue to function. You will waste away with a full stomach. The solution is to hunt for fat, not just meat. Crack the bones of whatever you catch and eat the marrow. Render the fat from under the skin. If you are scavenging a pantry, leave the pasta and take the peanut butter or the lard. In the wild, fat is the only fuel that matters. Protein is just building material for a house that is burning down. Let's move outside. You need to move to get to a bug-out location. You look at the forest floor and see a squirrel eating a bright red berry. The old folklore says, if the animals eat it, it's safe for humans. This is a lie that will stop your heart. A squirrel can eat strychnine-laced seeds A bird can eat hemlock berries. Their biology is not yours. Evolution has given them enzymes you do not possess. Do not trust the local fauna to be your poison control center. If you cannot positively identify a plant with 100% botanical certainty, it is a rock to you, inedible and irrelevant. Rely on the universal edibility test only as a last resort, a rigorous 24-hour process of skin contact, lip contact, and tiny ingestion, waiting hours between each step for a reaction. It is boring, it is slow, and it is the only way to eat the unknown without dying of anaphylactic shock. Now you are moving through the terrain and you get turned around. The trees look the same. You remember the old Boy Scout rule. Moss grows on the north side of the tree. You scan the bark, find a patch of green, and set your course. You are now walking in a circle. Moss does not care about magnetic north. Moss cares about moisture and shade. In a dense forest, shade can come from the south, the east, or the west. Relying on moss is relying on a humidity map, not a compass. Instead, look up. Learn to find Polaris, the North Star, which is a fixed point in the celestial sphere. If it's day, use the stick and shadow method. Plant a stick, mark the shadow tip, wait 15 minutes, and mark it again. The line between the marks runs east-west. The sun and stars are bound by orbital mechanics. Moss is bound by where the rain falls. Trust the mechanics. You decide to follow water, another classic trope. Follow the river downstream to civilization. It sounds logical until the river leads you into a gorge with vertical walls you can't climb, or into a brackish swamp where the mosquitoes will drain you dry, or over a waterfall that breaks your legs. Rivers follow the path of least resistance, which often means the most difficult terrain for a human to traverse. Civilization is usually on higher, flatter ground, not in the bottom of a ravine. Unless you know exactly where that water goes, stick to the ridges. High ground gives you visibility, drier footing, and keeps you out of the cold air sinks that form in valley floors at night. Eventually, the weather turns vicious, and you find a cave. It looks like the perfect shelter. You haul in logs and build a massive fire in the center to warm the stone. This is the caveman fantasy, and it ends in suffocation. A fire consumes oxygen and produces carbon monoxide. In a deep cave with poor ventilation, the heavy CO gas settles to the floor where you sleep. You simply won't wake up. Furthermore, heating porous river rocks or damp cave walls rapidly can cause the moisture inside the stone to expand, causing the rock to explode like a grenade, showering you with shrapnel. If you must use a cave, build a reflector wall outside the entrance and keep the fire external, reflecting the radiation in, or keep the fire tiny, near the mouth, and check the draft constantly. You are a guest in the mountain, not its master. Act accordingly. Finally, you get hurt. A slip of the knife, a jagged rock, you're bleeding, the adrenaline is pumping, and you think about cauterizing the wound with gunpowder or a hot blade, just like in the action flicks. This is the stupidity of the highest order. Cauterizing a wound seals bacteria deep inside the tissue, creates a massive burn area that is prone to infection, and destroys the flesh you need to heal. You are trading a laceration for third-degree burn and sepsis. Forget the drama. Apply direct, relentless pressure. Pack the wound with clean cloth. Elevate the limb. It is not cinematic. It is boring, bloody work. But pressure stops bleeding without destroying the limb. Biology requires patience, not pyrotechnic. Survival is not about rising to the occasion with heroic gestures. It is about sinking to the level of your training and adhering to the laws of physics. The wilderness and the ruins of the city do not care about your story. They do not care if you're a good person. They only care about caloric intake, thermal regulation, and hydration. The survivor who makes it out is not the one who took the biggest risks, but the one who made the fewest mistakes. You have stripped away the folklore. You have replaced the myth of the hero with the methodology of the scientist. You are no longer waiting for a rescue that may never come. You are engineering your own endurance. The next time you feel that panic rising, remember that your fear is just a lack of data. When you fill that void with knowledge, the fear vanishes, replaced by a cold, sharp plan. You're now the master of your domain because you understand how the world actually works, not how you wish it did. So, tell me in the comments below, which one of these survival myths did you believe was true? And are you ready to let it go to stay alive? Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and keep surviving.